in the grim darkness of the far future, where humanity clings to existence across a million worlds, where nightmares crawl from the warp and alien horrors devour entire star systems, the Imperium of man stands defiant. But this defiance comes at a price measured not just in billions of lives, but in the very souls of those who enforce the Emperor's will. Among these enforcers, none are more feared, more necessary, or more tragic than the Commissars of the Officio Prefectus. Picture this. You're a common guardsman, plucked from some backwater world and thrust into a war you barely comprehend. You've watched half your squad vaporized by weapons that shouldn't exist, seen things that make your ancestors' nightmares seem like pleasant dreams. Your hands shake, your courage wavers, and for just a moment, you think about running. Then you hear it, the distinctive click of a bolt pistol being readied, and you turn to see a figure in a peaked cap and greatcoat, their face a mask of cold determination. The Commissar. Suddenly, the alien horrors in front of you seem less terrifying than what stands behind you. This is the brutal calculus of the Imperial Guard. This is the life of a regimental commissar. The role of a commissar is unlike any other in the vast military apparatus of the Imperium. They are not part of the standard chain of command, yet they hold authority over everyone from the lowliest trooper to the regimental colonel. They are political officers in the truest sense, representatives of the Departamento Munitorum itself, wielding power that can override planetary governors when the Imperium's needs demand it. Their primary mission is deceptively simple: maintain the morale, discipline, and loyalty of the Imperial Guard regiments to which they are assigned. The methods they employ to achieve this mission, however, are anything but simple. A commissar's authority is absolute within their sphere of influence. They can countermand the orders of superior officers. They can requisition supplies from planetary authorities. They can declare martial law. Most infamously, they possess the right and duty to execute any member of their regiment for cowardice, incompetence, or suspicion of heresy, regardless of rank. This power is not theoretical or ceremonial. It is exercised regularly, often in full view of assembled troops, with the Commissar's bolt pistol delivering the Emperor's justice in a spray of gore and brain matter. The message is clear. Fear what stands behind you more than what stands before you. Yet this image of the trigger-happy executioner, while not entirely false, fails to capture the full complexity of a commissar's role. The intelligent ones, the ones who survive long enough to gain experience and perhaps even earn genuine respect, understand that the bolt pistol is a tool of last resort. Their first duty is to inspire, to lead by example, to be the first into battle and the last to retreat. They must be warriors of exceptional skill, able to face down enemies that would break lesser minds. They must be orators capable of stirring courage in the hopeless. They must be investigators who can sniff out the taint of chaos before it spreads. They must be diplomats who can navigate the cultural complexities of dozens of different regimental traditions. And they must do all of this while knowing that one mistake, one moment of perceived weakness, could see them with a lasgun bolt in their back, courtesy of the very soldiers they command. Before we delve deeper into the daily horrors and responsibilities of a commissar's life, we must first understand where these iron-willed individuals come from. The answer lies in the Schola Progenium, the vast network of imperial orphanages and training facilities that dot the Imperium. These are not places of comfort or kindness. They are forges, designed to take the broken, traumatized children of the Imperium's fallen servants and hammer them into weapons of unshakable faith and discipline. Every war in the Imperium creates orphans, countless orphans. When an Imperial officer dies in service, when a planetary governor falls to rebellion, when any servant of the Emperor of sufficient rank perishes, their children become wards of the Schola Progenium. These children, known as progena, are taken from whatever remains of their former lives and inducted into a system designed to strip away weakness, sentiment, and individual identity. They arrive as young as 6 standard years old, still processing the trauma of losing their parents, still carrying memories of comfort and love. The Schola Progenium systematically destroys these memories, replacing them with doctrine, duty, and devotion. The training begins immediately and never truly ends. The youngest progena are cared for in communal nurseries run by the Sisters Hospitaller, experiencing what little gentleness they will know for the rest of their lives. But even this early care is regimented, designed to instill obedience and routine. By the time a child reaches the age of proper education, the real brutality begins. Drill abbots, priests of the ecclesiarchy specially trained in the art of creating perfect servants of the Imperium, take over their instruction. The drill abbots are not teachers in any conventional sense. They are sculptors working with living flesh and terrified minds. Their methods would be considered torture on more civilized worlds, but in the Imperium, they are simply standard procedure. Physical training pushes children to and past their breaking points. Exhaustion becomes a constant companion. Sleep deprivation is used to break down resistance to indoctrination. Corporal punishment for failure is not just common, but expected. Some drill abbots employ branding, others prefer psychological torment. Still others find creative ways to make every moment of a progener's life a test of their worthiness. Alongside the physical conditioning comes religious indoctrination, of the most intense kind. The Imperial Creed is not taught but driven into the very core of each student's being. Hours upon hours of prayer, recitation of catechisms, study of imperial scripture, all designed to create an unshakable faith in the God Emperor and an absolute certainty in humanity's right to rule the stars. The progena learn that mercy is weakness, that doubt is heresy, that questioning is the first step toward damnation. They learn to see the universe in stark terms of loyalty and treachery, purity and corruption, duty and cowardice. But the Schola Progenium does not simply create fanatics. It creates highly skilled fanatics. The progena receive extensive education in imperial law, military tactics, logistics, xenobiology, focused on recognizing alien taint, the signs of chaos corruption, and countless other subjects deemed necessary for imperial service. They are trained in weapons handling, becoming proficient with everything from the humble las pistole to sophisticated plasma weapons. Close quarters combat is drilled into them until it becomes instinctive. They learn to fight, to kill, and to do so without hesitation or remorse. Throughout their education, the progena are constantly evaluated, tested, and sorted. Not all will become commissars. The vast majority will find other paths. Tempestus Scions, the elite stormtroopers of the Imperium, officers in the Imperial Guard or Navy, members of the Adepta Sororitas for those female progena who show exceptional faith, even recruits for the Inquisition or the Officio Assassinorum. But those identified as having the right combination of combat prowess, unshakable conviction, natural authority, and absolute ruthlessness are earmarked for the commissariat. These future commissars undergo additional specialized training. They study the art of maintaining discipline, learning when an execution is necessary and when a stern word will suffice. They are taught to identify the signs of wavering loyalty, to spot heretical behavior before it spreads, to recognize the subtle taint of chaos in all its insidious forms. They learn the administrative procedures that will connect them to the Departamento Munitorum, the regulations that govern the Imperial Guard, the proper protocols for everything from requisitioning supplies to declaring a planetary governor unfit for office. Most importantly, they learn to embody the absolute authority of the Imperium. A commissar cannot show doubt. They cannot display fear. They cannot afford compassion that might be mistaken for weakness. The training instills in them an iron certainty in their own righteousness, a conviction that their actions, no matter how harsh, serve the greater good of humanity. This psychological conditioning is perhaps the most crucial aspect of their education, because without it, the weight of what they will be asked to do would crush them. After years of this brutal education, the successful candidates graduate as cadet commissars. But their training is far from over. Unlike other imperial institutions that might grant full status upon graduation, the commissariat believes in learning through actual warfare. Cadet commissars are assigned to serve under experienced full commissars, deployed to active war zones, where they will witness firsthand the realities of their chosen profession. This period as a cadet commissar is perhaps the most dangerous time in a future commissar's life. They wear uniforms marked with blue trim rather than the red of a full commissar, a visible sign of their probationary status. They are given the equipment of a standard guardsman rather than the bolt pistol and chainsword that mark full commissars. They are expected to prove themselves in the most hostile environments imaginable, demonstrating not just their ability to survive but their capacity to inspire and, when necessary, to dispense the Emperor's justice. The assessment for advancement is entirely at the discretion of the senior commissar to whom they are assigned. There is no set timeline, no standardized test. A cadet might graduate to full commissar status after a single campaign if they show exceptional promise. Another might serve for years before being deemed ready, and some never advance at all. Those who fail but show no signs of cowardice or insubordination might be transferred to stormtrooper units or given positions in penal battalions. Those who fail more spectacularly face darker fates, including the possibility of being executed by the very commissar training them. The moment a cadet commissar receives their commission is one of solemn ceremony. In the high chapel of their schola progenium, they are presented with the symbols of their office: the peaked cap bearing the imperialis device, the greatcoat with its distinctive red trim, and most significantly, the bolt pistol and chainsword that will become extensions of their authority. These weapons are not merely tools, they are sacred instruments of the Emperor's will, and the new commissar swears oaths of unwavering service over them. From this moment forward, they are no longer students or cadets. They are full commissars of the Officio Prefectus, wielding authority that can override kings and end lives with a single word. But what does this authority actually mean in practice? What does a commissar's daily existence look like when they are assigned to a regiment and thrust into the grinding horror of perpetual war? The reality is far more complex than popular perception suggests. Yes, commissars execute soldiers. Yes, they maintain discipline through fear. But these dramatic moments represent only a fraction of their actual responsibilities. A commissar serves as the critical link between the regimental command structure and the Departamento Munitorum, the vast bureaucratic machine that manages the Imperial Guard across the entire Imperium. This means endless paperwork, reports that must be filed in triplicate, requisition forms that require proper authorization, casualty assessments that feed into the Munitorum's unfathomable logistical calculations. While regimental officers focus on tactical and operational concerns, the commissar ensures that the regiment remains compliant with imperial regulations, that supplies are properly accounted for, that recruitment quotas are being met. This administrative burden is not glamorous, but it is essential. The Imperium runs on documentation, and a commissar who neglects their paperwork can find their regiment denied critical supplies or reinforcements. Some commissars develop a talent for navigating the Byzantine bureaucracy of the Munitorum, learning which forms can be expedited, which officials can be pressured, which regulations can be creatively interpreted. Others delegate these tasks to aides while focusing on their more visible duties. But none can escape the administrative reality entirely. Beyond paperwork, a commissar must become an expert in the culture and traditions of the regiment to which they are assigned. This is one of the foundational principles of the commissariat. Commissars are never assigned to regiments from their own homeworld. This ensures objectivity, preventing local loyalties or cultural biases from interfering with their duty. But it also means that every commissar must learn to navigate unfamiliar customs, earn the respect of soldiers who view them as outsiders, and maintain authority over troops who might resent their presence. Consider the challenge of being assigned to a Cadian regiment, for instance. The Cadians are among the most disciplined and professional soldiers in the Imperium, raised from birth on a fortress world where military service is not just expected, but is the entire purpose of existence. A commissar assigned to Cadians will find troops who need little motivation to fight, whose officers are competent and experienced, whose discipline is already exemplary. Here, the commissar's role shifts toward ensuring political loyalty, watching for signs of chaos taint, and serving as a ceremonial symbol of imperial authority. Contrast this with an assignment to the Katakan jungle fighters. These soldiers come from the most lethal death world in the Imperium, a planet where simply surviving to adulthood requires skills that would make most guardsmen seem like children. Katakans are magnificent warriors, tough beyond belief, expert in jungle warfare and unconventional tactics. They are also notoriously hostile to authority figures they view as soft or incompetent. Commissars assigned to Katakan regiments face a very real risk of fragging, the practice of soldiers eliminating unpopular officers through friendly fire incidents. In fact, during certain editions of the tabletop wargame that serves as source material for much of this lore, Katashan armies actually had a rule representing this phenomenon. Before each battle, players would have to roll for each commissar in their army. On a roll of 1, the commissar had suffered an unfortunate accident before the battle even began, a victim of an unexplained lasgun discharge, or an accidental fall into particularly deadly terrain. This rule captured a brutal truth. Commissars who rely solely on fear and executions to maintain discipline in certain regiments are unlikely to survive long. The Katakans will tolerate a commissar who proves themselves in combat, who leads from the front, who demonstrates genuine tactical competence. They will not tolerate a coward hiding behind their rank. Then, there are regiments like the Death Corps of Krieg, which present a completely different challenge. The Death Corps hail from a world that suffered nuclear devastation in the wake of a failed rebellion. A catastrophe the planet's loyal citizens have spent centuries atoning for through their blood. Death Corps soldiers are fanatically loyal, absurdly brave to the point of seeking death in service to the Emperor, and utterly unconcerned with casualty rates. They view their own lives as worthless, meaningful only insofar as they can be sacrificed for the Imperium. For a commissar assigned to the Death Corps, the challenge is not preventing cowardice, but preventing suicidal waste. These soldiers will charge into certain death without hesitation, will volunteer for missions with zero chance of survival, will exhaust themselves and their regiment in pursuit of objectives that might be better achieved through more measured tactics. The commissar must act as a voice of restraint, preserving the regiment's strength for strategic purposes, preventing officers from spending their men's lives too freely, and ironically, sometimes preventing executions rather than ordering them. When a Death Corps soldier shows something approaching normal self-preservation, other members of the regiment might view this as shameful weakness. The commissar must determine whether this is genuine cowardice or simply the last vestiges of human survival instinct. The Death Corps commissars also serve another crucial function. They are often the only members of the regiment not native to Krieg, and thus the only faces that other Imperial forces can see and relate to. Krieg soldiers wear full-body rebreather gear constantly, their faces hidden behind gas masks, their voices mechanical and distorted. When Death Corps regiments must coordinate with other Imperial Guard units, the Commissar often serves as the primary point of contact, translating not just the Death Corps' intentions, but their entire approach to warfare for commanders, who might be disturbed by their willingness to accept massive casualties. Every regiment presents unique challenges, and a commissar's career will likely see them assigned to multiple regiments over the years. Each new assignment means learning a new culture, establishing authority anew, figuring out where the line between necessary discipline and counterproductive harshness lies for this particular group of soldiers. Some commissars develop specialties, becoming known as experts in handling certain types of regiments. Others pride themselves on their adaptability, able to shift seamlessly from the rigid formality of Vostroyan Firstborn to the rough camaraderie of Tanith Light Infantry. But regardless of the specific regiment, certain core duties remain constant. The commissar must lead from the front, demonstrating personal courage that shames any thought of cowardice among the troops. They must be visible during the worst fighting, standing tall when others would duck for cover, advancing when others might retreat. This is not mere bravado. It is a calculated demonstration of the commissar's authority and conviction. If a commissar orders a charge and then hangs back while others advance, they lose the moral authority to execute anyone for cowardice. But if they are the first over the top, if they face the same dangers they order others to face, then their authority is reinforced through action rather than mere words. This requirement to lead by example explains why commissars receive such extensive combat training. They must be skilled duelists, able to hold their own in close quarters against enemy champions. They must be capable marksmen, their shots counting even in the chaos of battle. Many commissars carry power swords rather than simple chainswords, the better to cut through the toughest enemy armor. Some acquire specialized war gear, plasma pistols for armor-piercing firepower, refractor fields for personal protection, digital weapons concealed in rings for a last surprise attack. The commissar must be a formidable warrior in their own right, because they will be tested in combat again and again. Beyond personal combat prowess, the commissar must constantly watch for signs of corruption and heresy within the regiment. This is perhaps their most critical duty, the one that justifies their entire existence in the eyes of the Imperium's highest authorities. The forces of chaos are insidious, their corruption spreading through the smallest cracks in faith and discipline. A moment of doubt can become an opening for demonic whispers. A soldier's despair can draw the attention of entities that feed on suffering. Anger and rage can mark a warrior for the blood god's notice. Even the desire for survival, pushed to its extreme, can lead to bargains with powers that offer safety at the cost of the soul. The commissar is trained to recognize the warning signs, changes in behavior, unexplained good fortune, strange symbols appearing in equipment or personal effects, whispered conversations that stop when they approach, soldiers who seem oddly unaffected by horrors that should break the human mind. Not every sign indicates genuine corruption. Sometimes a soldier is just lucky, or superstitious, or mentally stronger than their comrades. But the commissar cannot afford to ignore potential threats. 1. Corrupted soldier can spread taint to an entire squad. One squad can corrupt a company. One company can doom a regiment. When corruption is suspected, the commissar must investigate with both ruthlessness and caution. Too quick to judge, and they risk executing loyal soldiers based on suspicion alone, destroying morale and marking themselves as tyrants. Too slow to act, and the corruption spreads beyond the ability to contain it. This is where the commissar's training in recognizing chaos influence becomes critical. They learn the signs of each of the chaos gods, the patterns that indicate demonic possession, the subtle wrongness that marks someone who has made a pact with the ruinous powers. In cases where corruption is confirmed, the commissar's response must be immediate and absolute. Infected soldiers are executed on the spot. Their equipment is burned or blessed by a regimental priest. Anyone who had close contact with them is placed under observation. If the corruption has spread beyond a few individuals, the commissar may order a decimation, the execution of 1 in 10 soldiers chosen at random to purge the unit and demonstrate the consequences of allowing heresy to take root. This brutal practice, borrowed from ancient Roman military tradition, destroys morale in the short term, but can prevent the total loss of entire regiments. The worst-case scenario occurs when the corruption reaches the officer corps. A heretical colonel or major can do damage far beyond a corrupted trooper. They can issue orders that serve the enemy's purposes, position the regiment for slaughter, or actively work to convert others to chaos worship. In these cases, the Commissar must act decisively, using their authority to override and, if necessary, execute the corrupted officer. But such actions come with immense political risk. Executing a popular or well-connected officer can create enemies within the regimental command structure, enemies who might arrange accidents or make life extremely difficult for the Commissar. The Commissar must be certain of their evidence and prepared to justify their actions to the Commissariat's higher ranks. This brings us to the most infamous aspect of a Commissar's duties: summary execution. This is the power that defines them in the minds of both soldiers and civilians, the authority to end a life with a single word and a pull of the trigger. It is this power that makes the Commissar simultaneously respected and hated, feared and occasionally grudgingly admired. And it is this power that weighs most heavily on those Commissars who retain enough humanity to understand what they are doing. The bolt pistol carried by every Commissar is specifically chosen for its psychological impact. Unlike the humble las pistol carried by most officers, which kills with a focused beam of light, the bolt pistol fires explosive, mass-reactive ammunition. When a bolt pistol round strikes a target, it penetrates deep into the body before detonating, creating massive hydrostatic shock and typically causing catastrophic damage. A headshot with a bolt pistol does not simply kill. It obliterates, sending fragments of skull and brain matter across several meters, coating nearby soldiers in the physical evidence of the Emperor's judgment. This gruesome spectacle is not an unfortunate side effect, but a deliberate feature. When a Commissar executes a soldier for cowardice, the goal is not simply to remove one coward from the ranks, but to send an unmistakable message to everyone watching. The explosion of gore, the sudden transformation of a living person into red mist and chunks of meat, creates a visceral, primal fear that no amount of rational argument could match. The soldiers must believe that execution is a real possibility, that the Commissar will pull that trigger without hesitation, and that they fear the Commissar's bolt pistol more than enemy fire. The decision to execute is supposed to follow a rational calculus, but the reality is far messier. According to doctrine, execution is warranted for cowardice in the face of the enemy, incompetence that endangers the regiment, evidence of heresy or corruption, and insubordination that threatens to undermine discipline. In practice, what constitutes each of these offenses is largely left to the Commissar's judgment. One Commissar might execute a soldier who flinches under fire. Another might show leniency to a trooper who breaks and runs during their first combat against demons, understanding that the human mind was never meant to process such horrors. The best Commissars develop a sense for when execution is necessary and when other measures will suffice. A stern warning, a public reprimand, extra duty assignments, all of these can reinforce discipline without removing a soldier from the ranks. Some Commissars employ a practice of mock executions, placing the bolt pistol against a wavering soldier's head and counting to 3, letting them feel the cold metal and contemplate their mortality before lowering the weapon with a final warning. Others believe such theatrics undermine the credibility of the threat and only execute when they are committed to following through. Timing matters immensely. An execution immediately after a failure can shock troops back into discipline, transforming panic into determination. An execution during a lull might seem arbitrary or vindictive, breeding resentment rather than resolve. Executing an officer in front of their troops demonstrates that rank provides no protection from the Emperor's judgment, but it can also leave a gap in the command structure at a critical moment. The Commissar must consider not just whether execution is justified, but whether it serves the tactical and strategic situation. There is also the question of choosing who to execute when an entire unit has failed. Standard practice in such cases is to execute the officer in command, on the principle that leadership failures flow downward, but sometimes the officer was competent and the troops simply broke despite good leadership. Sometimes the failure was due to circumstances beyond anyone's control. overwhelming enemy forces, catastrophic equipment failures, or the intervention of enemy psykers. The Commissar must make these determinations in moments of chaos and crisis, knowing that every execution is irrevocable. The psychological burden of this authority is profound, even for Commissars trained from childhood to carry it. Every execution is a human life ended, regardless of the justification. For Commissars who maintain some connection to their humanity, who have not completely suppressed their capacity for empathy, each execution adds to an accumulating weight. They see the fear in the condemned soldier's eyes. They hear the pleading, the promises to do better, the desperate bargaining. They know that in many cases, the soldier being executed is not evil or even particularly cowardly, just human and afraid and unlucky enough to be chosen for an example. Some Commissars cope with this burden through religious conviction, genuinely believing that their executions serve the Emperor's will and that the souls of the executed will find redemption in death. Others develop a callous detachment, viewing the soldiers as resources to be managed rather than people. Still others turn to stimulants or obscura to dull the memories of faces they have blown apart. A few, the rarest, and perhaps the most remarkable, manage to maintain both their effectiveness and their humanity, understanding the necessity of their role while refusing to enjoy or grow numb to it. The novel Firecast, written by Peter Fehervari, offers a particularly haunting portrayal of this psychological burden. The story features a Commissar haunted by three ghosts: his old mentor, a fellow Commissar he abandoned to die, and a trooper he wrongfully executed. Whether these are literal ghosts empowered by the warp or simply manifestations of guilt and trauma is left ambiguous, but their effect on the Commissar is undeniable. He is consumed by the weight of his past actions, unable to escape the accusations of those he failed or wrongly condemned. This portrayal suggests that even in the grim darkness of the 41st millennium, conscience can survive, and with it comes torment. The Imperium offers no real support for Commissars dealing with such psychological strain. There are no therapists, no counselors, no acknowledgement that even the hardest warriors might need help processing the horrors they witness and perpetrate. Mental health concerns are viewed as weakness of faith at best and dangerous instability at worst. A Commissar who shows signs of psychological distress might find themselves quietly reassigned to increasingly dangerous postings until an enemy lashbolt solves the problem permanently. The only outlet for most Commissars is the regimental priest, and confession to an ecclesiarchy minister is more likely to result in additional prayers and penance than actual emotional support. This lack of psychological support contributes to the high mortality rate among Commissars. While the popular imagination focuses on Commissars being fragged by their own troops, the reality is that many die simply by being at the front lines of every battle. They cannot afford to show fear or seek cover when others are watching. They must lead charges across open ground, hold positions that tactical wisdom would abandon, and place themselves in harm's way again and again to maintain their credibility. The cumulative risk over dozens or hundreds of engagements makes survival increasingly unlikely. The fragging threat, however, cannot be dismissed entirely. Commissars who rely too heavily on executions, who seem to enjoy the power they wield, who fail to demonstrate genuine courage or tactical competence, often meet unfortunate ends. A lashbolt in the back during a confused melee, an enemy sniper shot that seems to have come from the wrong direction, a booby trap that the scout squad somehow failed to report. The regimental command conducts an investigation, files the appropriate reports, and requests a replacement commissar. No one asks too many questions. Smart commissars understand this dynamic and govern themselves accordingly. They save executions for when they are truly necessary. They build relationships with key personnel in the regiment, earning respect through competence rather than simply demanding it through fear. They learn which officers can be trusted and which ones bear watching. They identify the informal power structures within the regiment, understanding that the veteran sergeant with 30 years of service might wield more actual influence than the captain, who nominally commands the company. The most successful commissars master the balance between severity and inspiration. They are known for leading heroic charges, as well as executing cowards. They give stirring speeches that kindle hope alongside threats that ensure discipline. They demonstrate tactical acumen that saves lives, making soldiers grateful for their presence, even as they fear their bolt pistol. These exceptional commissars become legendary figures, their names spoken with a mixture of awe and trepidation across multiple regiments and sometimes across entire sectors. Consider Commissar Sebastian Yarrick, the hero of Armageddon, whose legend has grown to mythical proportions. Yarrick commanded the defense of Hades' hive during the Second War for Armageddon, holding out against the orcish hordes of warlord Gazgkul Thraka against impossible odds. During the siege, he inspired such fanatical devotion that not a single soldier was executed for cowardice, even in the face of overwhelming numbers. The orcs themselves began to fear and respect him, believing that his bionic eye could kill with a glance, a superstition Yarrick deliberately cultivated after losing his original eye in battle. When the orc war boss Ugelhard came to personally challenge Yarrick, the commissar's right arm was severed by the massive orc's power claw. Lesser men would have died from shock and blood loss. Yarrick killed the war boss with his chainsword, tore the power claw from the corpse's arm, and held it aloft as a trophy while his remaining blood poured onto the ground. Only after the orcs had fled in terror did he allow himself to lose consciousness. He later had the power claw grafted to his arm as a permanent replacement, creating the iconic image of an Imperial commissar wielding orc technology in service to the Emperor. Yarrick's legend grew further during his capture by Gazgkul. Rather than killing his nemesis, the orc warlord released Yarrick after brutal captivity, explaining that only Yarrick made war interesting enough to be fun. This strange respect between enemies became a defining feature of their relationship, with Gazgkul pursuing Yarrick across the galaxy in search of their ultimate confrontation. For the orcs, Yarrick is proof that some humans are worthy opponents. For the Imperium, he is proof that one man's will can turn the tide of impossible wars. Then there is Colonel Commissar Ibram Gaunt, a figure who occupies a unique position in Imperial military hierarchy. Gaunt holds both the rank of Imperial Guard Colonel and the authority of a Commissar, a combination so rare as to be nearly unheard of. This dual role creates inherent contradictions. Commissars are supposed to oversee and judge commanders, not become them. But Gaunt's exceptional circumstances, particularly his formation and leadership of the Tanith First and Only Regiment after their homeworld's destruction, earned him this unusual authority. Gaunt is known for his warrior poet nature, a commissar who leads with both courage and wisdom, who understands that soldiers are more than resources to be expended. He famously said that the dead will always haunt you, and advised his troops to strive so that those ghosts would be friendly. This perspective, valuing the lives of his soldiers while still demanding their utmost in battle, created fierce loyalty among the ghosts of Tanith. They would follow Gaunt into any hell, not primarily because they feared his bolt pistol, but because they genuinely believed in his leadership. Gaunt's story, chronicled across numerous novels in the Gaunt's Ghosts series by Dan Abnett, explores the tensions inherent in the commissar's role. He has executed soldiers when necessary, sometimes making agonizing choices between military necessity and personal relationships. He has overruled superior officers whose incompetence threatened his regiment. He has navigated the treacherous politics of the Imperial Guard's upper echelons, making powerful enemies among those who resent his unusual rank and independent authority. Throughout it all, Gaunt has maintained a moral center that many commissars lose, questioning the brutal calculus of the Imperium, even as he serves it faithfully. And then there is Commissar Chiaphas Cain, perhaps the most unconventional famous commissar in Imperial history. at least according to the accounts compiled by his longtime aide Jurgen and annotated by Inquisitor Amberley Vale. Kane presents a fascinating case study in how reputation can diverge from reality. He is celebrated as a hero of the Imperium, credited with countless acts of selfless bravery and tactical brilliance. Statues have been erected in his honor. His name is invoked to inspire courage across multiple sectors. Yet by his own account, recorded in memoirs never meant for public consumption, Kane is a coward and a fraud, whose heroic reputation stems largely from self-preservation instincts and incredible luck. According to Kane's own writings, he became a commissar not from burning faith, but because it offered a path to relative safety compared to other Schola Progenium graduates. He cultivated a reputation as a reasonable commissar, one who preferred inspiration to execution, specifically to avoid being fragged by resentful troops. His heroic actions typically resulted from attempts to find safe positions or escape danger, which through circumstance kept landing him in the thick of fighting. His tactical victories often came from self-interested decisions that happened to serve the greater good. Yet even allowing for Kane's self-deprecating narration, his actual accomplishments are undeniable. He has faced and survived encounters with every major threat in the galaxy: orcs, chaos space marines, necrons, tyranids, and more. He has made decisions under pressure that saved countless lives. He has led troops through impossible situations and emerged victorious more often than not. Whether he is the coward he claims to be, or whether his modesty is itself a form of deception, remains an open question, but the results speak for themselves. Kane's approach, emphasizing genuine leadership over fear-based discipline, created loyalty among his troops that matched or exceeded that earned by more traditional commissars. These three legendary commissars, Yarrick, Gaunt, and Kane, represent different approaches to the same impossible role. Yarrick embodies the indomitable will and personal courage that can inspire even the most downtrodden troops. Gaunt demonstrates the warrior poet who sees soldiers as people worth preserving, even while demanding their utmost in battle. Kane shows that effectiveness can come from understanding human nature, rather than simply trying to override it through fear. All three have achieved what most commissars never do. They survived long enough to become legends, and they did so while maintaining the respect of at least some of the soldiers they led. But for every legendary commissar, there are hundreds or thousands who live and die in obscurity, carrying out their duties without achieving fame. These are the commissars attached to unremarkable regiments, fighting unremarkable wars on worlds whose names will never be recorded in the Great Chronicles. They execute soldiers for cowardice. They file their reports. They lead their troops into battle. And eventually, they die. Their names added to the endless list of the Imperium's servants who gave everything and received nothing but a brief notation in a casualty ledger. The daily reality for these ordinary commissars is one of constant vigilance and accumulated trauma. They wake each day knowing they might have to kill someone under their command. They must constantly evaluate threats, both external and internal. They navigate the politics of the regimental command structure while remaining outside it, exercising authority without the relationships and loyalty that normal command structures build. They must appear utterly confident in their decisions even when they are uncertain, show no fear even when terrified, display no weakness even when exhausted or wounded. The relationship between a commissar and their regiment evolves over time in complex ways. Initially, there is almost always tension. The commissar is an outsider, a representative of distant authority, someone whose presence implies that the regiment cannot be trusted to maintain its own discipline. The soldiers test them, watching to see if this commissar will be a reasonable leader or a tyrant, whether they have the courage to back up their authority, whether they can be manipulated or intimidated. The commissar's first few decisions set the tone for everything that follows. Execute someone too quickly for a minor infraction, and resentment festers. fail to act decisively when action is warranted, and they lose credibility. Lead from the front during the first battle, and respect begins to build. Show tactical incompetence, and contempt grows. Over time, if both Commissar and regiment survive, a working relationship develops. The soldiers learn the Commissar's limits and expectations. The Commissar learns which officers can be trusted and which troops are reliable. In the best cases, something approaching mutual respect emerges. But this respect is always fragile, always conditional. One wrong decision can shatter years of built-up goodwill. One moment of perceived cowardice can destroy a Commissar's authority permanently. The Commissar can never truly relax, never fully trust, because their role inherently places them apart from and above the soldiers they serve alongside. They eat with the officers, but are not really officers. They share the danger with the troops, but cannot be one of them. They exist in a liminal space, belonging fully to neither group, trusted completely by none. This isolation is perhaps the truest burden of the Commissar's life. They cannot show weakness or doubt to their troops. They cannot admit uncertainty to their superiors. They cannot trust that anyone truly cares about their well-being rather than their utility. Some Commissars develop close relationships with their personal aides, soldiers assigned to assist them who might become confidants over years of service. Others maintain connections with fellow Commissars, meeting when regiments converge and sharing experiences with the only people who can truly understand. But for many, isolation is simply the price of their authority, accepted as necessary and endured without complaint. The physical environment adds to the Commissar's challenges. Imperial Guard regiments fight in every imaginable hellscape the galaxy can produce. Frozen death worlds, where temperatures drop to lethal levels and alien predators lurk beneath the ice. Jungle worlds, where the flora itself is carnivorous and disease kills as surely as enemy fire. Industrial hive worlds, turned into urban nightmares of block-to-block fighting through cramped corridors and toxic smog. Demon worlds where reality itself is optional and sanity is the first casualty. The Commissar must maintain discipline and morale in all of these environments, demonstrating leadership, whether facing conventional enemies or reality-warping horrors. Each environment presents unique challenges to maintaining discipline. On frozen worlds, soldiers might be tempted to huddle for warmth rather than maintain watch positions. In jungles, the constant background noise of alien wildlife can mask approaching enemies, leading to paranoia and friendly fire incidents. During urban warfare, the claustrophobic nature of fighting building to building can break even experienced troops. And on demon worlds, the very act of maintaining sanity while witnessing impossible things becomes a daily struggle. The Commissar must also navigate the broader politics of the Imperial Guard and the Imperium itself. While they are outside the normal chain of command, they still must work within it. They report to Commissar Generals who oversee entire sectors, coordinate with Inquisitors who investigate suspected corruption, and sometimes deal with planetary governors whose cooperation is necessary for the regiment's operations. Each of these interactions carries political risk. Offend the wrong Inquisitor, and a promising career can end in an undocumented execution. Cross a planetary governor who has powerful connections, and future assignments might become increasingly lethal. The Commissariat itself has its own internal politics and power structures. Advancement to Lord Commissar or Commissar General requires more than just survival and competence. It requires the right connections, successful service in high-profile campaigns, and often a degree of political maneuvering. Some Commissars are content to serve at the regimental level for their entire careers, finding meaning in the direct work of maintaining discipline and fighting the Emperor's wars. Others are ambitious, viewing each assignment as a stepping stone toward higher authority and greater influence. The relationship between Commissars and the regimental priests, officially known as Ministorum priests, can be complex and sometimes contentious. Both serve similar purposes in maintaining morale and faith, but through different methods and with different authorities. The priest appeals to religious devotion, leading prayers and blessing weapons, interpreting setbacks as tests of faith. The Commissar enforces discipline through authority and the threat of punishment. Sometimes these approaches complement each other beautifully, with priest and Commissar working together to maintain the regiment's spiritual and martial discipline. Other times, they clash, particularly when a priest's interpretations conflict with military necessity, or when a Commissar's actions seem to contradict the ecclesiarchy's teachings. Naval Commissars face a different set of challenges than their army counterparts. Assigned to Imperial Navy vessels as part of the Fleet Commissariat, these Commissars must maintain discipline among crew members who might serve aboard the same ship for decades. The close confines of a void ship create unique social dynamics, with generations of families serving together in some cases. A naval commissar must balance the need for discipline with the reality that executing a valuable technician or experienced gunner might take years to replace. They must watch for the subtle signs of chaos corruption that can spread through isolated ship populations. And they must maintain morale during void journeys that might last years or decades, where the outside universe is reduced to view screen images, and the enemy is often invisible until suddenly catastrophically close. There are even commissars assigned to planetary defense forces, though these postings are typically viewed as punishment detail or assignments for commissars considered too old or politically problematic for frontline service. A single commissar might be responsible for overseeing the PDF of an entire planet or even multiple planets in a subsector, a task so vast as to be essentially meaningless in practical terms. These commissars often have minimal actual impact on the forces they nominally oversee, instead spending their time on bureaucratic tasks and only emerging into relevance during major crises when Imperial Guard regiments deploy to their assigned worlds. The highest rank within the Commissariat is that of Commissar General, individuals who have survived decades of warfare and accumulated enough political capital and proven competence to reach this lofty position. Commissar Generals assign commissars to regiments, promote cadets to full commissar status, and oversee the Commissariat's operations across vast regions of space. They are among the most powerful individuals in the Imperial military apparatus, able to influence the deployment and fate of billions of soldiers. Yet even at this height, they remain servants of the Imperium, subject to the same absolute demands for loyalty and service that govern the newest cadet commissar. Some commissars have achieved even more unusual positions. The Colonel Commissar rank, as exemplified by Ibram Gaunt, is so rare as to be nearly unique. The inherent contradiction between being a commissar who oversees command and being a commander who must be overseen creates tensions that most commissars and officers would find untenable. Only in extraordinary circumstances, such as Gaunt's situation where his regiment was formed from the sole survivors of a destroyed world, and he was the natural leader by virtue of having saved them, does this dual role make any sense? The ultimate expression of a commissar's authority, rarely invoked but always present, is their ability to requisition essentially anything from planetary authorities in support of the Imperial Guard's operations. If a regiment needs supplies, transportation, or any other resource, the commissar can commandeer it from civilian authorities. If a planetary governor attempts to obstruct the Imperial Guard's mission, the commissar has the authority to declare martial law and place the planet under military rule. This power extends even to the execution of planetary nobility and government officials if their actions threaten imperial interests. In practice, exercising such extreme authority requires careful judgment. A commissar who regularly clashes with planetary authorities will create enemies among the administratum and nobility, potentially damaging their career and creating obstacles for future operations. But the power exists, and in moments of crisis, a commissar must be willing to use it. The Imperium's survival trumps all other considerations, including the feelings of wealthy aristocrats or the protests of government ministers. When necessary, the Commissar embodies the cold, absolute will of the Emperor, and all other authorities must bend to that will or be broken. This brings us full circle to the fundamental nature of the Commissar's existence. They are necessary evils in a universe that offers only evil choices. They maintain discipline through fear, because gentle leadership often fails when facing enemies that traumatize the mind and corrode the soul. They execute soldiers because sometimes that is the only way to prevent mass panic that would doom entire regiments. They stand outside the normal human bonds of friendship and loyalty because the Imperium believes that such detachment makes them more effective judges of guilt and innocence. But the cost of this effectiveness is measured in more than the lives of those executed. It is measured in the humanity gradually ground away from the Commissars themselves. Even those who begin with idealism and genuine faith often find those qualities eroded by years of killing their own troops, of making impossible decisions, of witnessing horrors that would break lesser minds. Some become the tyrants that popular perception already believes them to be, finding dark satisfaction in the exercise of absolute power. Others go through the motions, executing when expected but feeling nothing, their emotions cauterized by trauma and repetition. A rare few somehow maintain their humanity despite everything, holding on to the knowledge that each execution is a tragedy, even when necessary, that each soldier under their command is a person deserving of respect, even when they must be feared. These Commissars, the ones who can balance ruthlessness with compassion, authority with genuine leadership, are perhaps the most valuable servants the Imperium possesses. They prove that even in the grim darkness of the far future, the human spirit can survive intact, can maintain moral clarity even while performing morally questionable actions, can find meaning in service even when that service demands the unthinkable. The life of a Commissar is brutal by any measure. They are orphaned as children and stripped of everything that made them individuals. They are trained to suppress normal human emotions and to see the universe in absolute terms that allow no room for doubt or compromise. They are given power that would corrupt most people and expected to wield it without abuse. They are required to kill those under their command, to make life and death decisions in split seconds, to bear the weight of those decisions without support or understanding. They face death in every battle, knowing that their duty requires them to take greater risks than anyone else. And they do all of this in service to an Imperium that views them as tools, that will discard them without ceremony when they are no longer useful, that offers no reward beyond the satisfaction of duty fulfilled. Yet the Commissars endure. Generation after generation, the Schola Progenium produces new Commissars to replace those killed in action. Regiment after regiment receives these stern figures in peaked caps and greatcoats, fearing them and sometimes hating them, but ultimately depending on them to maintain order when chaos threatens. World after world benefits from the discipline that Commissars enforce, even if the citizens never understand the cost of that discipline. In the broader context of the Imperium's military structure, Commissars represent a necessary acknowledgement of human nature's limitations. The Imperium knows that faith alone will not always sustain soldiers facing galaxy-ending threats. Camaraderie alone will not prevent panic when demons materialize from the warp. Loyalty to the Emperor, though preached from every chapel and shrine, is not always enough to overcome the most basic human instinct for survival. So the Imperium adds Commissars to the equation, not because they are the ideal solution, but because they are the solution that works. This pragmatic brutality characterizes so much of the Imperium's approach to existence. The Emperor's realm survives through measures that would be considered barbaric by more enlightened civilizations, if such civilizations could exist in the Warhammer 40,000 universe. Summary: executions, mass conscription, child soldiers, suicidal charges, all of these are accepted as normal because the alternative is extinction. The Commissar is simply one manifestation of this brutal necessity. the human face placed on the Imperium's willingness to spend any number of lives in pursuit of survival. The true question that the Commissar's existence poses is whether this approach is sustainable. Can an institution built on fear and punishment maintain itself indefinitely? Can individuals stripped of their humanity continue to function effectively, or do they eventually become as monstrous as the enemies they fight? Can the Imperium's brutal calculus, treating human life as expendable resources, persist for another 10 millennia? Or is it already in the death spiral that it desperately tries to deny? These are questions the Imperium does not ask and cannot answer, because to do so would require confronting uncomfortable truths about what it has become in the name of what it was. The Commissar, standing on the battlefield with bolt pistol ready, does not grapple with these philosophical questions. They have more immediate concerns: the enemy position that must be taken, the soldier whose nerve is wavering, the officer whose judgment seems impaired, the supply requisition that must be filed. They do their duty because that is what they were trained to do, what they have always done, what they will continue doing until a lashbolt or a chainsword or simple exhaustion ends their service. And then another Commissar will take their place, and the cycle will continue, as it has continued for 10,000 years, as it will continue until the very end. If you found this exploration of the Commissar's brutal existence valuable, if it gave you new appreciation for these complex and tragic figures in the Warhammer 40,000 universe, please consider subscribing to the channel. We dive deep into the lore of the grim darkness of the far future, exploring the stories, characters, and themes that make this setting so compelling and disturbing. Hit that like button if you enjoyed this content, and let me know in the comments which aspect of a Commissar's life you found most interesting, or which famous Commissar you would most want to serve under, assuming you had to choose. Would you take your chances with Yarrick's impossible expectations? Join Gaunt's ghosts and their unusually humane Colonel Commissar? Or hope that Kane's legendary luck would keep you alive despite his claims of cowardice? The Imperium of Man needs Commissars, not because it wants them, but because without them, the vast edifice of military discipline that keeps a million worlds from falling to chaos would collapse. They are the stern teachers who use pain to educate, the harsh judges who show no mercy because mercy might doom millions, the cold executioners who kill to save. They are feared, and rightly so. They are hated, and understandably so, but they are also necessary in a universe where necessity often wears the face of monstrosity. That is the brutal truth of the Commissar's life, the burden they carry, and the price they pay for keeping humanity's fragile grip on the galaxy from slipping into the darkness that presses in from all sides. The next time you imagine the Warhammer 40,000 universe, when you picture the vast armies of the Imperial Guard standing against impossible odds, remember the Commissars among them. Remember the peaked cap visible above the trench line, the greatcoat standing out against drab uniforms, the bolt pistol always ready, always loaded. Remember that these figures represent more than simple authority. They represent the Imperium's cold calculation that human life matters less than human discipline, that individual suffering is acceptable when measured against collective survival, that the Emperor's will must be done regardless of the cost. And remember too that beneath the peaked cap and the stern expression, beneath the authority and the bolt pistol, and the absolute conviction, there might still be a person who remembers what it felt like to be human, who carries the weight of every execution, who lies awake during the few hours of rest, wondering if there was another way, if the soldier they killed that morning might have found their courage without needing to die for it. That person, if they exist, if they can survive the grinding horror of their duty, is perhaps the most tragic figure in a universe full of tragedy. Because they are aware of what they have become, what they must continue to be, and they do it anyway, because someone must, because the alternative is worse, because in the grim darkness of the far future, there is only war, and war demands commissars. This is the brutal life of a regimental commissar in Warhammer 40,000. This is their burden, their duty, their curse, and their purpose. They stand between humanity and extinction, and the fact that they achieve this through means that would horrify a kinder age does not change the essential truth. Without them, the Imperium would have fallen long ago. That is their legacy, their justification, and their damnation, all wrapped together in the crack of a bolt pistol and the spray of a traitor's blood. Thank you for watching. Remember to like, subscribe, and join me next time as we continue exploring the grim darkness of the far future, where there is only war, and the Emperor protects, even if his protection comes in the form of a commissar's absolute authority and pitiless judgment. Until next time, stay vigilant, stay loyal, and remember that in the Imperium of man, fear of what stands behind you can be stronger than fear of what stands before you, and sometimes that is the only thing that keeps the darkness at bay.